Record.
Awesome.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Lisa.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out and supporting. My name is Lisa Richards. I'm a mother of 7 in Massachusetts. I've been part of the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign since the very beginning, and have been part of the grassroots movement to abolish poverty and to give back power to the people since early 90s when I became a single mom. Today, we wanted to celebrate motherhood in general, motherhood in poverty, mothers who are struggling with COVID-19 because this is not rocking my world. I'm sure everybody else is having difficulty with it, and highlighting the heroes that are pulling through for those of us with children and with mental health issues and or other special needs on top of just the COVID-19 being really rough. So that's where we're hoping to talk a little bit about the organization and what we have done in our past and where we'd like to go, and give people a few minutes to speak on how poverty or COVID-19 is affecting you today. And if you're not a mother, you can share your experience in your family's lives or your personal lives or your work life that you're probably having to do remotely. So that was my spiel. So who wants to share? Come on, guys.
I'll share, Lisa.
Awesome. Thanks, Ms. Amy.
So I am the teacher for 3 of Lisa's kids, who are amazing and gorgeous. And it's been really rough being home, trying to teach remotely. I hate it. I miss being able to see them face to face, being able to read their expressions, to be able to know that something is wrong and I need to be able to help, knowing when to back off, knowing when to push forward. I can't do any of that. And one of Lisa's kids is really having a tough time learning remotely. And it breaks my heart. It gives me severe anxiety thinking about how it is I'm supposed to reach out to this kiddo and help him through this time. And I'm not a mom, but these are my babies. And it breaks my heart. I don't know what to do. I'm trying everything I can in order to keep that connection going. That's my spiel.
The kids know that, and they appreciate that, and we all appreciate that, and you're awesome. You're a rock star.
I don't feel like it lately.
You are, though. You made a difference the other day, and they know it. So
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Amanda, you gonna say something? Come on. She's shaking her head. No.
Lisa, do you want to talk a little bit about like what it's been like for your family, and then I could say some things as a dad.
Sure, you can talk about it. So I said I was a mother of 7. Amanda is on. She's my oldest. She's 27. So Amanda's 27 and Eva's 21. The 2 of them are not in the household. In the house, we have Evan, who's 18, Malik, who's 17, Michael, who's 15, Alec, who is, Michael, who's 15, Alec, who's 12, and Rosa, who's 10. They all have special needs. They all have pretty detailed IEPs, and they all have emotional mental health diagnosis. And we have been lucky enough to keep up their supports for their emotional mental health through either teleconferencing, and one of them does have in-person appointments still to the COVID-19. I do have to say that their anxiety and some of their moods have been rocked during the COVID-19. And part of that is also their ages, as I just explained. I have a number of teens or just beginning into teens. So the hormones and puberty is not helping the matter, along with each of their diagnoses. Some of them are kind of unique diagnoses. So it's been really rough. Miss Amy kind of talked about one of them. That was Michael. He almost ended up taking the ambulance ride to the ER, probably would have ended up in a psych bed. And right now, with COVID-19, that's really hard because emergency rooms aren't pleasant with that experience anyway. It can take weeks to get a bed, and me would have to stay 24/7 until that bed shows up, and you're like locked in one room. Not, I wouldn't get fed. I wouldn't be able to bring any food in. They don't feed you. They don't let you have showers, and you can't have any pens or pencils or cords with you, even if your child is not suicidal. So it's a problem. It's isolating. It's abusive to people who are trying to reach out for mental health help. And with COVID-19, it would be worse, which is why we ended up being able to calm Michael down, and he did not need to go to the emergency room. And we contacted his medication provider to try to change the medications. It's just hard to get the services as fast as you need in the middle of this COVID-19, and things are changing. People's mental health is being rocked. Education-wise, we have some, what we call in the special ed world of parents, we have champions in the school, and Miss Amy is one of them. I have 3 or 4 in our district, understanding that I have 5 children in the district. So I have 3 schools at this school year, which is done for the year in the school building, and they're trying to teach remotely, which is the Chromebooks. And for some kids that will work, and for other kids it doesn't work. And so I've had mixed reviews, mixed experiences with my children, and I'm kind of just, what gets done from the efforts from the teachers, from the efforts from me, but I have to keep their mental health on spot, as well as I can, because nobody can learn if they're way off the deep end. So I need to focus on that, and schooling kind of comes second because safety has to be first. And being in poverty with all this makes it suck too, because I think that all the prices of everything have just been ridiculous, price gouging. And so even with the extra food stamps the government has given us, it's made it hard. And then the grocery shopping stresses me out to no end, up and down the aisles with arrows and people not being able to move and staying 6 feet away from each other. The same experience everybody else is having. But I'm just about done with it. I want to know where the beach is. I want to know where the retreat is to learn whatever I need to learn to change the world on a beach is what I want to know. So that's where I am. Matt, why don't you tell us about how Ace is doing? Right?
Sure. So I have he's a 4.5-year-old, and he's been doing pretty good, but I think I feel like the younger kids who aren't in the routine of seeing their friends all the time and are kind of a little more wanting to be with mommy and daddy all the time, it's not as big an impact. But what's been on my mind is both, his mom and I both are trying to work and take care of him and not sit him in front of a screen for 24 hours a day. So that's hard. And I guess I'm also thinking about the future because none of us knows how long this is going to go on. And it seems like what the corporations and the people with money have wanted is to move towards a more privatized online education where you keep the costs down and you make bigger profits and you wreck public education and teachers unions and all that. And so, I think Cuomo in New York just is consulting with Bill Gates to talk about how to redo their educational system. which will, I'm sure, be all online. And that doesn't work at all for a lot of kids. And so, I'm thinking, is this me going to be like homeschooling for like forever, for the foreseeable future? And like, what kind of community support can we have? Even when we're not supposed to be close to each other, how do we have kids play with each other and grow up like this? So, none of us knows how long it'll go on, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. What is the future, and how do we, make sure that we have a decent educational system for our kids going forward?
All very good points. I don't know. Now we need to come up with something else.
Oh, Sandra just came in. We can ask Sandra to
Oh, Sandra.
introduce herself.
Awesome. Hey, Sandra. Where is she? That's Tara. Tara. Good morning. Want to tell us what it's like in Florida?
A little bit cloudy. That's about it. I'm out here.
In here.
But I mean, it's cool for our mornings. It's 70 degrees, which normally our mornings are like 75 to 80. So it's a little cool for us, but not for you guys. I mean, I'm sure for you guys, this is summer weather.
Snowed here yesterday, girl.
Oh my God. God bless y'all. That's okay. You can keep that.
Yeah, thanks so very much. How's mothering going in COVID-19, Tara?
I want to kill them, each and every one of them. I mean, all 5, all age groups. You pick one, they have tried my patience already. Okay. But especially the 2 little ones. Oh my God. I should say the 3 because I found his daughter here too. So there are some days we want to just hang them on the tree. Okay.
Yeah.
How about you? How's it going with yours all in the house for you don't count, man. You only got 1.
I just said
fight with.
trying to educate them online has been hard.
Oh, for me it's been impossible.
And the emotional mental health has been struggling. So we're focusing more on the emotional mental health and doing the schoolwork that we can and just turning it in, and we'll battle whatever battles we have with the powers to be when that has to happen. But we do have some really supportive teachers that have gone above and beyond and kind of outside of the box, which is always my favorite people, the people that can think outside of the box for solutions and for some new ideas. And some of that is being supported by the district and some of it is not being supported by the district. And the interesting thing about teachers, they're people. Did you know that? I bet you might have forgotten that. They're people and they have great hearts.
I worked at a preschool. Trust me, I know.
Right? To be a special ed teacher, I don't know why anybody does that job, because I don't want to be a special ed teacher, and I'm not appreciating being put in that spot right now,
Actually,
at all.
Half the females in my family up north, all the females that in Long Island, my family part of my Long Island, they're all special ed teachers. So like I grew up, I mean, half my family are teachers, period, male and female, but the female side of the family on that side have all gone into special ed teaching. So I grew up with special ed teachers and teachers in general, and I have utmost respect for it because I know how challenging, how difficult. Growing up, I even heard the complaints about the different rules that changed when they changed what teachers could do, what teachers couldn't do to help special needs kids. So like that conversation has been a part of my family since I was growing up. And sad to say, even they will say it. Unfortunately, we still don't have the answers to all that.
Right. And they're trying to turn it back to like the 70s, some of the special ed laws. So, through this COVID-19, people are being very compliant and following rules because that's what, you know, people have been taught. But I like to teach my kids to question authority as you do teach yours, and that we need to do that to fight for the rights of our families and our children, to not allow them to turn back the special needs laws and the disability laws. Because as it is, we are so far behind on the disability laws, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, even worldwide, that's happening. I find that struggle is not just here. The struggle is worldwide with special needs, especially. Well, I guess not especially. Just I guess it's closer to my heart and yours because it's in our realm. Is the autism? Um, not one. Not one nation has it together. To be quite honest, because I've been part of like special Facebook pages for international folks, and they're all having the same conversation that we're having. It doesn't matter what country you're in, the services just aren't there. And if they are, it's for people with wealth and money who can pay for, you know, the excellent services. But even those parents are frustrated. Even the ones, at least, you know, from what I can read online, even the ones who can't afford it are frustrated.
Thanks so much.
We just
Awesome.
had Dawn Junkins join
I
us.
saw
Hi.
that. Good morning,
Hi.
Dawn. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. Oh my gosh, this is my second Zoom. Yesterday I did one with my cousins, and I decided I cannot show my face right now. I'm a mess.
That's all right. We all are. Welcome to COVID-19. Right?
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah, as you know, from personal experience, it's been just one big roller coaster with my family having COVID that
I know.
I just wouldn't know where to start, just to try to be positive throughout this nightmarish thing.
I know. I'm sorry that your mom is she still in the hospital, right?
Yes, but well, you know how insidious this disease is, and I will, you know, even though yesterday she informed us that she has passed the mark where you can fall back, I just don't trust this. Until she's well, I just don't trust that it can't get you through a back door, because it's crazy like that. Biologically, they've never seen anything physiologically take place like this in the medical industry ever. So it's new to everybody.
Right. Absolutely.
So, but with if things keep going the way they're going, she's hoping to be able to go home on Wednesday. So
Yep.
that would be nice.
That would be awesome. Yes.
But now we have the fear, though, since Keely has the virus now, maybe she should not be going into that house, you see?
Yeah, I wondered about that. I saw
I don't
that.
know the answers to this. I just don't, sometimes I feel like my head's going to explode with everything. It's like, it's hard to even prioritize which part of the disaster to put first. You know what I mean? It's because you can only do so much. You can't physically be there for anybody. Yes, I can drop groceries off back and forth. Yes. And then you get something else coming from left field, and mentally you're like, oh my gosh, how can I even function in my own home to even help other people right now? Because it's crazy.
Right. Let me ask you a couple of questions. How is Keely doing? Is she doing any schoolwork through online? Do you know?
Well, I do know that she was doing it was totaled about 3 hours a day, and she was.
Can we ask you what state or what location you're in and how old the child is?
Yeah, yes. That was my fault. I actually know those answers. Sorry, Matt.
Okay. Well, she's 13, and the school would be in Massachusetts, and she was doing it prior to getting so sick. I don't know that she's doing it now because she's got the fever.
Right.
She was doing that, yes. She was. And my son, we have access to online stuff as well. That's more of a challenge in my household, but she was doing that, yeah.
Does Keely go to what school does she go to?
Yes, she goes to the Valley Collaborative, or the Valley now it's called. And yes.
when she
And that's
doesn't
the,
have the virus. Yeah.
no,
Awesome.
she has the virus, yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But
What a mess.
yeah.
Tara,
I
is
love,
that you with the roosters?
I
Yeah,
love
I'm
that
trying to
rooster.
mute me, but can't figure it out. Hang on.
It's nice.
I'm sorry. It just was too funny. I really want to say thank you to everybody who's been on today, here, and I appreciate you all. You guys are all awesome. Thanks so much for responding to
Thanks
my,
for doing
please
this,
don't
Lisa.
leave me out here.
Right. I just had signed on and saw that you had this because I didn't, my phone died and this charger, I'm having an issue with the charger. So I'm at 7% and I'm like, oh, Lisa, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me get in before it's over. So thanks for having me, but I will bow out now because I've got my son needs to talk to me. So thank you for having me.
I'll reach out, okay?
Oh, okay, wonderful. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Dawn.
love you.
Thank you, love you too.
Awesome.
I don't know how to get out of this. I don't, seriously though.
I can boot
There's
you out.
leave at the top.
There, I
Is she
booted.
good? Oh, well.
I
Tara, are
know.
you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, we have a rooster here.
Where's Sandra?
She's sleeping.
Man, you're supposed to talk about the youth.
Is that her Mother's Day gift to sleep in?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, they were out here last night barbecuing everything, the guys, for Mother's Day. So they did the barbecue and they say, you know me, I'm like, ciao, good night. I'm tired, bye. But they keep partying all night. So I'm assuming that's why they're not up this morning, and it's already
right.
11:30. But I mean, I can give a little bit of that report since I'm always around the computer when she's doing that.
Yeah, why don't you?
So they have a video Zoom event coming up with music, poetry, focusing on mental health is their theme, and how as poor people throughout the generation, like they're actually going to do this whole presentation of how poor people for generations have figured out their own mental health through religion, through culture, through dance, through all these mediums that they're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
So I think that anyone, I guess once they got it together, they'll advertise it. Or maybe they already have, I don't know.
There's a flyer.
I'm just giving you the end of me being around the computer when she's, having her meetings.
Right. So
But
I participated in that meeting the other day with Eva and Rosa for a few minutes. Rosa's attention's kind of off the wall. ADHD meds need to be tweaked. But there was lots of great conversation and great ideas, and I think they're tweaking it. And I think it's going to be a great event, and I started to advertise their event all over the place, and we'll continue. And we'll have a few of my children participate. Yep, there it is. Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
I knew that, like I said, I'm just reporting on being around the meetings. And of course, they asked me for educational material and stuff and putting stuff together for them. So I've been doing that for them when they ask. But I try not to be a complete part of the meeting, just
Right.
peripheral. You know me, I can't keep my mouth shut if I hear something while I'm in the kitchen doing dishes. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We have that. Just go onto my drive. I'll give it to you later.
Right. Right.
But Amanda, how are you doing? And what are you up to?
Hi.
Hey, Mama.
I've been doing okay, I guess. It's been pretty rough during COVID. So I work at a special ed school. It's a private school for kids with autism and disabilities. And I'm also going to school Teaching and doing my own college courses online means I'm at the computer for 10 plus hours a day.
Wow.
Oh my
I don't
God.
have attention for that. I can't pay attention, which means my stress level is going up. I see my students aren't getting everything that they need, which is really frustrating to see. And it's sad because certain things that they were doing, I'm not seeing them do anymore. And how do
Ruben,
how do you get to reach their IEP goals and take the data we need to improve when you have 3 or 4 students in a meeting at a time? You can't make it individualized. And each student in our school has a one-to-one. So
okay.
it's been really tough with that part. But that's how that's going.
Yeah, I know it's just as frustrating for teachers as it is for parents during this
Right.
time. There's some kids without that, like uh, that don't have IEPs that are thriving, being online, not being distracted. But then there's students like Ruben that won't engage on the computer at all. And like what the teachers don't understand is, if I force him, that means he'll have an emotional breakdown, which he hasn't had. That means if he
Thank
does,
you.
I got to take him to the hospital. I don't want to expose him to the to the virus at the hospital. So I have to make a choice. What is more important? His mental health right now, that he is at least engaging with the household, and Liz's daughter and Liz's granddaughter come here every day to my house. They spend half the day at their apartment, half the day here with us since the beginning, since gate of the virus. And he engages with Juju. Juju's doing better because she doesn't have autism. She doesn't have any of those issues. She doesn't have ADHD, ADD. So she's thriving on the computer. Her grades have gone all the way up to A's, and she was struggling in school because of, so much distraction of other students. That now that she's on the computer, she's doing great. And then you have Ruben, who, like I said, won't engage on the computer. So all his grades went from A, B. He's probably gonna get D's and F's for the end of the school year. And is that fair when he was doing all right? I know that he gets A's and B's with help. I know he doesn't do it on it, because he's not a student. He gets pulled out a lot. He gets in smaller settings a lot. He's a student that they have to work a lot with. But what am I supposed to do? Which is the right choice? Am I supposed to, yell, scream, force him to get on that computer, or do what I'm doing now of, well, I make him watch YouTube videos. Like I do alternative other things. We have conversations. We play Monopoly a lot, and then have like just conversations about like different subjects. Me and Sandra and Charles with him. Doing our best so that he at least is, how should I say, intellectually being challenged. And that's another thing that doesn't get marked at school is how you're intellectually challenged at home. Look, I'll be honest. My kid can probably have conversations about subjects that most kids his age can't have. Right. But because that doesn't relate to schoolwork, that doesn't count, even though, like Sandra, Luis, and Jacob, they can all talk about things that are college level. My daughter, Sandra, she's doing some research for the event that they're doing. She looked up someone's thesis for their, I'm not mistaken, either their master's or their doctorate in mental health and religion, alternative religions. And everything that Sandra and I were talking about at the youth meeting, this is someone with a doctorate now putting it down on paper. Not teaching Sandra anything new. Sandra's reading over and going, this is exactly what you were saying, Mom. This is exactly what I was saying, word for word almost. And that's because of the education she got, not only through me, but through people, through not school, not traditional school. She probably got more of an education with all of us. School
Yeah.
taught them to read and write. That's about it. You
I
know,
think
they didn't teach them how to think.
I think it would be harder for kids that don't have parents that can like put the context of like what's going on in the world, you know, like if just all of a sudden you're used to your routine and going to school and going to your friend's house and then you're stuck at home, but your parents are also anxious and don't have a political explanation for like why the world is you know being destroyed right now. I feel like at least the movement babies, the kids, have that that context, that understanding, and that even if we're you know frustrated and anxious at times, we have a grasp of how society works and what's going on. And I feel like the kids would pick up on that anxiety that parents would have, like if they have no idea what the future is or what's, you know, why this is happening or why the government isn't helping or how they get food, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
All good points.
And I think you know, you were saying like, do I focus on mental health versus like schoolwork? And I think you're right to like everything that I've seen from like I read an article that was like, you know, kids have gone through wars for years and like can't go to school, and they're fine later on if they deal with the trauma, if they figure out how to get through that like emotionally. So like I think taking care of our kids and ourselves emotionally and psychologically is crucial right now. And like the academics, that can, you know, kids can catch up and thrive, you know, whatever. But same with ourselves, like we have to make sure we're like, if we can't work as hard as we always do, or like my brain is cloudy half the days, you know, that's going to be normal. We're all going through like a really traumatic experience, you know.
I can't imagine parents who don't have any perspective and are frustrated and angry and don't know where to put that frustration and anger and are putting it towards the kids, to be quite honest. Like, don't get me wrong. I lose my patience, but I'm in a house full of people. We all lose our patience here. But since I live communally, to be quite honest, um, we're able to tag team and say, yo, you need a break. Go somewhere else. I'll deal with the kids right there. Like, they're able to say, Sandra's able to say, Mom, you need a break. Go do, you know, I can't imagine being a single parent or even just two parents with a bunch of kids, especially kids with special needs, all day, every day, no break. Okay. I at
Yeah.
least can come out to the porch. Like my sister, Amanda, her son's not special needs, but she's stuck in an apartment all day. She doesn't have a porch. She doesn't have, you know, a backyard. So like literally her and her son since this has started have been closed up in an apartment. I can't imagine that.
But yeah, and like the, you know, the abuse that can go on from that, and the intimate partner violence and domestic violence, all that tends to go up in these types of, you know, contexts.
Right. And the addictions and the self-medications and people who
Yeah.
have been on or off antidepressants and or mood stabilizers or whatever for years, and myself included, should probably be picking up the telephone and calling and getting them prescribed, because I don't know when this is all supposed to go back to normal. But the more I watch, like even here in Athol, Massachusetts, which is a small town and kind of a mess district-wise for school, the school committee meetings are hinting that it's going to be a big dream to get back in on September, and talking about possibly having to have half the students come in half the week and half the students come in the other half a week. And we know as a movement that the online classes was the way that they're trying to do most of them. I mean, there's no mistake that there's a lot of abandoned schools or closed schools, all those schools that were closed in Philadelphia and in other states, not being repaired, and taxes 2.5, and you know, Prop 2.5 here in Massachusetts that the voters keep voting down, and some schools getting fixed and some schools not getting fixed. None of that is by mistake. And so then that leaves us as movement people, people in the grassroots, to question authority and figure out how to support the teachers and the unions of how to at least meet the needs for the kids that absolutely need the one-on-one, the in-person teaching, the outside of the box teaching.
But not just that, Lisa. They're not putting into account is, yes, there are students who are thriving on the computer, but their social needs to develop are not being met. No one's talking about that.
That's
Don't get
true.
me wrong. Like Lisa's daughter is doing so much better academically. But I remind Lisa, then if you decide to keep her on the computer, that means you have to go above and beyond to make sure you're socializing age appropriate with students her own, or kids her own age, creating activities for her, because you can't grow up isolated in a bubble and then become 18 or 20, throw that person in the world and think that they can function socially to hold down a job. As intelligent as they could be, if you don't have social skills, you won't hold down a job, or you will not be able to sustain a relationship of friendships, even marital relationships, or whatever you want to call it. For people who don't believe in marriage, just
Right.
intimate relationships. How are you going to do that if you're raised in a bubble, going to school in a bubble? You can't. I'm talking about for kids who don't need the special needs.
Absolutely.
They still need social activities, lunch, food. Like these kids eat at school. The budget. Look, I have never ever had to feed these kids as much as I've had to feed them during this time. You know how many arguments I get in with Gabi? Okay, you would think he's a starving child. Okay,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much I feed him. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. You haven't fed me today. You got to go out there and buy food. Boy, I just fed you 15 minutes ago. You know how much that eats into the budget?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Leroy just joined us.
Leroy, you want to say some words about how it is for yourself and maybe some of the beautiful people you're organizing with in
And
California?
what state? And what state?
Hello, it's Leroy from California, Berkeley. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, I miss my mom. My mom passed away in 91, but happy Mother's Day for everybody. And, here it's just, the Bay Area has been empty, empty. It's kind of weird, but it's good for nature. I'm seeing like things grow that haven't grown in years. So, that's me just trying to live, just trying to make it. But happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Thanks, Leroy.
Thank you.
It's so great to hear your voice.
Thank you.
I miss all our marches and all our in-person stuff. Just doesn't feel right? Things are going to hell in a handbasket and we're all in Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
But we'll get together soon.
Yep. We will.
How are the mothers doing there? I know that you've been doing your radio show, right?
Yeah, I have been at Poor Magazine in like almost a month now, so it's been kind of weird. Usually I'm there almost every day, but haven't been there for almost, a month and a half. So, but it's like, they're doing good, they're all, building their houses and, the school is online, so we do classes online, they're still being in the community, so, it's good to watch, from the far, but, it's hard not being there.
Right. I've been watching it afar too, what you guys do. You guys are powerful. Great work out there all the time, especially through this craziness. Can you talk to us a little bit about the disability? I was saying earlier that they're trying to take away some of the rights, even though the rights have never made it to as far as it should have. Can you talk to us about some of that?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, definitely, kids with disabilities, along with Betsy DeVos, sees evil, she's been trying to hack IDEA from the beginning, trying to say that, just disabled children don't need to go to school and all that stuff. It's just been horrible. And before this virus, Trump was about to attack SSI, about to kill it all together. So, and he still wants to do it. We had to fight just to get the bill to include people with disabilities to have that $1,000, that one time $1,000. I'm still waiting for mine, but yeah, it took 3 bills because the first 2, it's like, oh no, they don't get nothing, so, it is the same thing, it's just getting worse. And of course, Biden is not as good anyway, so, the future for people with disabilities is going to be really, really shaky. And we see this in other emergencies, Hurricane Katrina, after Hurricane Katrina, Louisiana lost so much funding with disabilities. Louisiana went down to like last after the hurricane. We're talking about disability rights and services. So, it's unfortunately it's the same story, different decade.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think when the COVID-19 is up, how will we be able to track how far backwards we've gone, and how do you think we could tie in other organizations and maybe even like the teachers unions, the special ed teachers, to that maybe didn't see themselves aligned with organizations such as the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, fighting for their jobs, fighting for a livable wage, better benefits, and the right to teach the students that they spend all their time and their money going to school to learn how to do. And some of them are some fantastic people doing some great work.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to get off the call. All right, guys. But thank you so much. And Lisa, you should make these more often, talking about special needs, especially the needs of children. I think you need to have these a little more often for folks, especially during the quarantine. I think that could help a lot of folks with their mental health, dealing with having their kids home all day. All right, Mama. Love everybody.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Thanks, Tara. Bye.
Bye.
I'm another one who doesn't know how to get off.
I'll boot you.
All right. Thank you.
What do you think, Leroy? Do you have some thoughts on that?
Well, like I said, we can go back in history and just look at, what happened after Katrina. So I think what needs to be done is like a coalition of workers, parents, and people with disabilities, nationally, and really push our policy and really push, governors, because right now, forget about the federal government. Right now, it's city budgets, and governors is going to pass the budgets. And here in California, we are freaking out because Gavin Newsom is, going to chop a lot of disability services after this, pandemic. So, really pushing governors and local officials to say that, people with disabilities have federal law, and you cut these services, you're going against the law. You know,
Right.
so we can sue you. You know, we can jam you out in the courts. You know, and you really use the media to embarrassing them. You know,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So class action suits, some civil disobedience, maybe some stepping it up some more.
Yeah, you know, and get the unions involved, you know, get this, you know, the teachers union, you know, before this, you know, teachers in North Carolina, Chicago, and elsewhere were really kicking butt, you know, trying to get more pay and stuff. So we need to go back to them and think, okay, how did you do it? You know, can we learn from you? For, you know, sex education teachers, you know, parents and all that. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks so much for helping me out there. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I guess I wanted to think about, so like we sort of know that when there's a major crisis, it's an opportunity for the people who want to make more money, who want to get rid of people's rights and things like that. And like Leroy was saying, like there's such a crisis of state budgets now, because like as I understand it, they can't go into debt the way that the federal budget can. So they're going to be looking for all kinds of things that they need to cut, or they say they need to cut, and it won't be, you know, police or prisons. It'll be like essential services, disability, education, and you know, even so-called progressives like Cuomo that, you know, liberals seem to be loving on right now. You know, at the same time, he's been, you know, advocating for a better response to COVID. He's like talking about cutting like education budgets, health budgets, all this stuff, you know, and, you know, so we know there's an opportunity, if, you know, which is kind of gross to say for the, you know, people in power. So I guess I wanted to reframe it and say it's also an opportunity for revolutionaries. And how do we, you know, take advantage of that opportunity? And we have to be organized. And so as organized people in Poor People's Army, Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, Poor Magazine, like how do we as revolutionaries try to, you know, drive home the contradictions for people as like, you know, the emperor's clothes are sort of being removed right now for a lot of people, and people who thought they were not going to be touched by crisis. So like, how do we take advantage of that and welcome those people into, you know, revolutionary thinking and, you know, teach them to become organizers as well?
All good questions. So before the COVID-19 happened, here in Athol, Mass, the teachers did not have a contract signed. I believe we're still without a contract, although I'm not positive about that. So they were having, the teachers were showing up at the school committee meetings wearing red. And some of us at the CPAC, local CPAC, were wearing red to support them at these meetings. The CPAC is, actually I don't know what the acronym stands for, but we're a bunch of special parents of special needs kids, special ed kids. It's an organization that supposedly every town and city is supposed to have, and you can get away without having one if you fill out some papers and tell some sob story why you can't get parents together to stand up for their kids' rights in the school district. And some are more powerful than others, and some are more vocal than others. In our district, we have a couple of crazy moms, speaking of myself, and a couple of others that have been holding the district accountable this past year after not having one for a few years. So I think that perhaps some conversations can happen with some of the special ed teachers and see if we can, you know, what they've learned from the experience and how their experience has been, because I think the pay rates have been different. There have been some raises given for certain jobs in this community. More people are being hit by not having enough food for their families. I know that because I volunteer at a food bank here locally and have been making meals every weekend for 9 weekends in a row. This is my first weekend off from that, actually, in 9 weeks of not being locked in the kitchen for 10 hours every Saturday and every Sunday, trying to feed the people in our community. People are, you know, people who are never had to ask for help are starting to have to ask for help because their rainy day fund is
Right.
gone,
Right.
you know, and people's pride is getting bruised, or maybe even more than bruised. And you can see the wear and tear on their emotional status. I mean, we're not hanging out, right? Because we can't. But you can see it when you go into Cumberland Farms to get your iced coffee or to get your gas or whatever. Or even when I'm volunteering at the food pantry, you can see people starting to come a little unglued, which is a hurtful place. You know, I'm having a hard time watching because I consider myself part of the community of people, you know, in poverty, people with mental illness, special needs people, and the community of volunteers. So even some of the volunteers that you think had their shit together are coming a little unglued because we're all people, right? And it's just not the way we've been raised to isolate in the houses. And isolation is not good for mental health. And just to put in my regular plug, as a survivor, a suicide survivor, somebody who has had someone take their own life. My father has, and many other cousins, and etc. This is the highest time of year of suicides, is spring. People think it's wintertime, but that is not so. The stats say it's spring. So I'm going to watch what happens with those numbers during the COVID-19. I'm really worried because we're not able to get our people the treatments they need, the supports they need, and it's a scary place. Scary place to be as a parent and as a person that cares about other people. So I really feel that people are starting to be awoke a little more that were not awake. Oh, thanks. That's really cool. You know, on maybe how the systems work. I know lots of people are very frustrated about not getting their unemployment as fast. And quite honestly, the unemployment is rolling it out faster now than I have seen it do in 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, food stamps takes a long time. You have to show a lot of paperwork. And even when they're in the damn offices, they ain't trying to rush it for you. So if you're getting food stamps now and you've applied recently online, you're probably getting them faster than any other family. And most likely the 6-month out renewal that you'll have to do, I don't know if they're going to do it now because, you know, this is looking like a horror story, you know, this COVID-19. So the food stamps that you're getting now are not what you did get. Because before COVID-19, because my husband finally won his disability, we were down to $14 a month for 8 of us.
Wow.
Or 7 of us living in the house. And now COVID-19 rolled in. So now I have, I think they gave us $900, you know, so thank you very much. And I think very much that for the buses, our district has our school buses going around giving free breakfasts and lunches in paper bags. The school bus drivers and some other school staff are rolling around on the streets on the buses at certain places and giving the kids breakfast and lunches to help make the dollars spread. And here in our community, we have a couple of other things that the school has had their fingers in bringing meals to families in need. And people are starting to step up. So I'm starting to see some, and I'm really kind of excited, and I'm taking note of who's stepping up and who's not, and what organizations. There's one here in town that I'm considering a huge poverty pimp, and I'm having some big issues about it. And I just have to figure out how to handle that. And I'm just going to out them right now, and that's the YMCA, and I'm pretty upset about it as a community activist and as a low-income activist, locally, statewide, and nationally, that the YMCA is participating in poverty pimping right here in the community. Is just not acceptable. Does anybody else, like, who else is on here? I'm sorry. Let's see.
Oh, it's okay. I don't know if Anne wants to say anything.
Yeah,
She's
Ann, you
writing
got
some
something to
stuff in the
say. What's up
chats.
with that?
She said something in the chat. She said it's interesting to hear that pretty much it's the same everywhere. And so it's good to know that we're not alone in our efforts. We're stronger with one united voice. I was going to just say as a little teaser that like what Leroy was saying, and Sherry's talking about getting some special education lawyers to do a meeting with us about all this stuff that we're talking about. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to try and get a couple special education lawyers to talk about, like, you know, doing some kind of legal challenges for what's going on right now, or what are the strategies, or if in the future this goes on, like what are the kinds of lawsuits that could be brought, what kind of legal issues are people seeing across the country. And it would be great to have Leroy back on for that, whenever that is, as like a co-presenter to like talk about organizing, you know, because we don't just want a legal strategy, we want a movement, you know, activist organizing strategy. So that's just a sort of like heads up that's in the works for a PPERC, Poor People's Army, meeting on special education with lawyers and movement activists.
Ann, are you there? Maybe she went to Chicago. Do you want to say something?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay.
You have said inquiringly enough. I don't need to say anything.
No, it's been great. I mean, I think we can wrap up. We've been on for about an hour, and I feel like it's been really good. Do you want to, I don't know if we want to do a last round of people.
Yeah, like thoughts. Did anybody hear something that they haven't heard, or want to share something that they haven't heard that they wanted put out there? And was there something you learned today that seems interesting to you that, you know, we could get more information to you about, I suppose, or the two questions?
Yeah, I'll add in. It's Leroy again. I'm on this board called DVU in California, and they've been doing, of course, like everybody else, you know, Zoom meetings, but their meetings have been really solid. You know, they had one about special education. They had one about you know, COVID and people with disabilities. So you know, just you can go on YouTube and just put in DVU trainings, and DVU stands for Disability Voices United. And I know it's California, but it's good to look to see what other states are doing at this time.
Yep.
And that's, yeah.
I'll do that. I wrote it down. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, there
Thank
you go,
you.
Matt. Nice job, man.
Thank you, Matt.
Sure.
Yeah, that was awesome. We talked about some mental health stuff today, and we talked about people struggling with that. And so I know that support groups have been doing some Zoom meetings, and I know some recovery groups have been doing some meetups and some like 6 feet apart, and, you know, trying to do the spatial thing, and outside of churches, because, you know, churches are closed, right? So I think there's like around bonfires happening in garages and in yards, and Because it just isn't the same trying to hold on to your recovery through Zoom, you know. I have found it a little challenging to do Zoom meetings and educations and support groups through Zoom for a number of different reasons, but it's just not the same. And I like to be in the room with people, as everybody on here knows that. Just can't replace the personal touch, right? But I do appreciate everybody being here, and I'm still looking for people's feedback on what y'all think.
While people are thinking, can I share the upcoming events we have?
Yes, sir.
This Tuesday, we're having a really basics of how to organize meeting that should be really good from 5 to 7 Eastern time. I can put the link in the chat box. There's going to be that youth speak out that we talked about earlier next Saturday, May 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And on the end of the month, on Sunday, May 31st, Bruce is putting together a concert for peace in a pandemic. And there's going to be some really great performers, including Rebel Diaz. So that's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, May 31st.
Awesome. And you have included all our links, or you will include our links?
Yeah,
All those people who were not part of?
Yeah, I'll put them, when we post this on Facebook or wherever, I'll put the links in the comments.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to everybody, or, you know, and happy weekend if you're not a mom. Thanks so much for coming out and supporting and being who you are in this world, and part of whatever part you do is an important part. And always keep the peace and moving forward, right?
Always. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thanks, Lisa. That was great.
Thank you, everybody.
Lisa.
Okay, hope to see you all soon.
All right, you take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.